The heating system in your home right now is costing you more than you think, and it is still failing you. You set the thermostat, you pay the bill, and you wake up at 3 in the morning cold anyway. Meanwhile, a man named Marcus, with no house, no thermostat, no gas line, spent 11 winters on the streets of Chicago without freezing to death. Not 11 nights, 11 full winters. People with functioning central heating systems died in those same winters. People in houses with programmable thermostats and $400 electric blankets, they died. He did not. What kept Marcus alive was not a product you can buy. It was not a subscription. No company ever told you about it because no company can make a dollar off it. What kept him alive was a method everyone around him called broken. The only broken thing, it turns out, was the advice the rest of us were following. Picture a January night on the south side of Chicago. The temperature is 4 degrees Fahrenheit, with a wind chill pulling that number down toward -20. It is the kind of cold that, after a while, stops feeling like temperature and starts feeling like pressure, like the air itself is tightening around you from all sides, patient and relentless, looking for the one gap in your defense. Marcus was 51 years old. He was 6'1" with calloused hands. He had been a union electrician for 19 years before a back injury, a divorce, and a cascade of losses that happened faster than anyone ever plans for, stripped him down to a shopping cart and a corner under the Wentworth Avenue overpass. He knew wiring and he knew circuits. He knew, in a deep and practical sense, how energy moved through systems and what it took to keep energy from escaping where you did not want it to go. That knowledge translated. And on that January night, while a city of 3 million people cranked their furnaces, argued about heating bills, and layered electric blankets over down comforters, and called it preparation, Marcus was doing something that would have looked ridiculous to anyone walking past. He was stuffing his jacket with newspaper. Slowly and methodically, section by section, he folded each sheet, crumpling it just enough to create resistance, tucking it between his 2 outer layers, while a small tin can with a cloth wick burned quietly in the corner of his makeshift lean-to. The lean-to itself was lined on 3 sides with silver emergency blankets. The cheap foil kind marathon runners drape over themselves at finish lines and then throw into a recycling bin. He was not reading those newspapers. He was not burning them for warmth. He was wearing them. He was engineering warmth, the way human beings engineered warmth for thousands of years before a corporation convinced everyone that staying warm required a thermostat, a gas line, and a monthly payment to keep the whole arrangement from shutting off. He woke up the next morning. He woke up every morning for 11 winters after that. So what did he know that the rest of us forgot? Before we go any further, drop a comment below right now. Tell me, how many times have you woken up cold in a heated home? How many times have you spent money on a space heater, an electric blanket, thermal socks from some outdoor brand, and still felt like something was not working? Because what you are about to discover will change how you see warmth itself, not as a product you buy, but as a system you build. Here is what the modern heating industry sells you, and here is exactly why it keeps falling short. Walk into any big box store in November and count the products designed to keep you warm. Heated mattress pads, infrared space heaters, ceramic tower heaters, microfleece throws, smart thermostats with app integration, each one marketed with clinical precision, with wattage ratings, heat distribution zones, and sleep mode sensors. Each one requires electricity, batteries, or a subscription to a cloud service that monitors your home temperature from a server farm in Nevada. A quality electric space heater costs anywhere from $80 to $400. A smart thermostat costs another $150 to $300. A down comforter with a legitimate fill power rating costs at least $200. And the monthly utility bill that powers all of it climbs every single year. The average American household now spends roughly $1,000 annually just on home heating costs. And still, people report waking up cold. Still, frostbite hospitalizations happen in homes with functioning heat. Still, elderly people in heated apartments die during cold snaps because the product they were sold kept them warm enough to feel safe, but not warm enough to actually be safe. Compare that to what Marcus built. A $1.99 bottle of isopropyl alcohol, a tin can, a piece of cotton cloth, newspaper from a recycling bin, a $2 emergency blanket from a dollar store. Total cost was under $7. Duration across 11 winters was perfect. Not one cold-related hospitalization. He survived every winter. The modern system has more parts, more cost, more technology, and worse outcomes. That is not a coincidence. Here is where it gets important, and here is where I need you to understand something before we go any deeper. The fact that Marcus's system worked better than yours is not evidence that you are stupid. It is not evidence that you were careless or uninformed or that you should have known better. The heating industry, and I mean the entire ecosystem of products, contractors, utility companies, and smart home technology, has a direct financial interest in you, believing that warmth is complicated, that it requires expertise, that it requires their products, their installation, and their monthly rates. They built a system that creates dependency, and then they sold you that dependency as a solution. You did not fail to stay warm. You were handed broken instructions and told they were state-of-the-art. So let's go layer by layer through exactly what Marcus was doing and exactly why each piece of it worked so much better than what he was supposed to be using. The first layer was insulation through dead air. When Marcus stuffed newspaper between his clothing layers, people who saw him assumed he was doing something desperate and primitive. What he was actually doing was replicating the same thermodynamic principle behind the most expensive outdoor gear ever manufactured. Dead air, trapped motionless air between layers of material, is the single most effective insulator available to a human body. It is what Goose Down does. It is what Thinsulate does. It is what a $600 Patagonia puffer does with its precisely engineered baffles and ethically sourced fill. Crumpled newspaper does the same thing. The crumpling creates irregular pockets of trapped air. Those pockets do not move. Air that does not move does not carry heat away from the body. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to warm a room where every window is open versus a room that is sealed completely tight. The body is the furnace. The newspaper is the sealed room. Paper's thermal conductivity is, in measurable physical terms, close enough to wool that the difference in a survival context is negligible. The Finnish Defense Forces used paper insulation in military uniforms during winter campaigns in the 1940s. This was not poverty-driven improvisation. This was applied physics. The modern outdoor gear industry took that same dead air concept, industrialized it, added a proprietary fill, attached a logo, and sold it back to you at a markup that funds advertising campaigns specifically designed to make newspaper feel shameful by comparison. They did not improve the underlying science. They improved the branding, and they trained you to distrust anything that did not come in a branded package. That training cost you exactly nothing in comfort and exactly everything in money. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The second layer of Marcus's system was radiant heat concentration using thermal mass. That small tin can with the alcohol wick was not just producing a flame, it was doing something far more sophisticated. Isopropyl alcohol burns at a low flame temperature relative to other fuels, which means it produces far less carbon monoxide in an enclosed space, a critical safety factor that most improvised heaters ignore, and many people die from ignoring. The flame's heat radiated outward, but Marcus had placed a terracotta plant pot. the kind that costs $1 at any nursery, inverted over the flame on a small wire rack. Clay absorbs heat energy slowly, and then releases it slowly and steadily, long after the flame itself has dimmed. The clay pot essentially turned a small, inconsistent flame into a slow, sustained radiator. It stored the heat energy and metered it out over time, instead of producing a flash of heat that disappeared the moment the flame did. Think of it like a battery versus a direct power line. The battery stores energy and delivers it steadily. The direct line gives everything at once and then nothing. Doctors have long understood that hypothermia does not kill from a single cold spike. It kills from a sustained core temperature drop over time. A steady, gentle heat source beats a powerful, intermittent one every single time for keeping a human body above the hypothermia threshold. Now here is the part that should make you genuinely angry. This terracotta and alcohol system has been tested, documented, and openly shared by mutual aid communities across the United States. A collective in Portland developed a version called the heater block, a copper coil design with a mason jar reservoir that costs roughly $7 to build, is tent safe because the alcohol flame self-extinguishes if tipped, and is distributed with open source blueprints that anyone can download for free. When outreach workers distributed these heaters to unsheltered people in Seattle, recipients showed measurable reductions in hypothermia-related emergency room visits. They worked. They are real. You have never heard of them from any major media outlet, from any winter preparedness brand, or from any retailer, because there is no profit margin in a mason jar and a copper tube. So that knowledge stayed invisible, traded quietly between people the system had already decided did not matter. If you are finding this as enraging as I did when I first put it together, hit the like button, because we are just getting started. The third layer was what Marcus called his walls, the emergency blankets. He lined 3 sides of his lean-to with them, silver side facing inward. This is called radiant heat reflection, and it is the same principle used in professional firefighter gear, in NASA spacecraft thermal shielding, and in the foil lining behind radiators in every well-designed home heating setup in Europe. The human body radiates heat constantly in the form of infrared energy. That energy, in a standard room or an unlined shelter, simply escapes outward into the surrounding air and is lost. A reflective surface bounces it back. It does not create new heat. It recaptures the heat you are already producing and returns it to you. When Marcus sat inside those 3 reflective walls with his newspaper layers and his clay pot heater, he had built a closed thermal loop. His own body's heat reflected back to him. The clay pot's steady radiation supplemented it, and his layered clothing trapped the rest. He was not fighting the cold. He was containing warmth. Those are 2 completely different physics problems, and only one of them is winnable with $7. The 4th layer was the one nobody talks about: moisture management. Cold does not kill people on its own as efficiently as cold combined with wet. Wet clothing accelerates heat loss from the body by a factor that survival medicine professionals consistently describe as catastrophic. Water conducts heat away from skin roughly 25 times faster than still, dry air. This is why people drown in cold water within minutes, even when the water feels merely chilly. The same principle operates against you on land. Marcus slept with cardboard beneath him at all times, never directly on concrete or ground, because the earth pulls heat from a body lying against it faster than any wind chill can. He changed the newspaper in his layers when it had absorbed perspiration, usually every second day, and sometimes every day when he had been walking far. He understood something that most modern heating advice completely ignores. The very warmth your body generates will, if allowed to saturate your insulation with moisture, become the instrument of your own undoing. A wet insulating layer is worse than no insulating layer at all, because it actively wicks warmth away. The expensive sleeping bags sold to outdoor enthusiasts solved this exact problem with hydrophobic synthetic fills and waterproof shells. Marcus solved it with a recycling bin, a routine, and attention paid to a process rather than faith placed in a product. So why did the world stop teaching this? Why did this knowledge become something that only survived on street corners and in mutual aid networks and in the hands of people the rest of us look past on our way to the parking garage? 3 reasons. The same 3 reasons every time something that works gets replaced by something that sells. Speed first, the newspaper method, the thermal mass heater, the reflective shelter. None of these can be manufactured, packaged, and shipped by Amazon in 2 days. They require assembly. They require understanding. Industrial heating solutions can be produced at scale, warehoused, and delivered with a one-click checkout. Anything that requires you to think cannot compete with anything that requires you to only spend. Cost second. There is no margin in newspaper. There is no subscription revenue in a terracotta pot. The heating industry's business model depends on recurring cost, fuel bills, replacement filters, electricity draw, new units every 7 to 10 years, a system that costs $7 once and lasts indefinitely through easily replaced components is not a product. It is a threat to a revenue stream. And third, new technology made the old knowledge seem unnecessary. When cheap natural gas infrastructure expanded across American cities through the mid-20th century, and when electric heating became affordable at the residential level, the skills required to manage warmth without those systems quietly died. There was no crisis, there was no ban. People simply stopped needing to know, and so they stopped knowing. The knowledge did not vanish. It just became homeless, like Marcus, invisible to everyone who had the luxury of not needing it. The hidden cost of that abandonment is what you are paying now, not just in utility bills, in dependency, in the fact that when the power goes out, when the gas line fails, when the next polar vortex hits, and the grid buckles under demand, you have no backup. You have only the product, and the product requires infrastructure. Marcus had a system. You have a subscription. So here is what you can do. Starting today, right now, with no special equipment and no expertise required, the easiest entry point is simple. Buy a $2 emergency foil blanket, available at any pharmacy, and put it behind the radiator or heating vent in your coldest room, reflective side facing out. This alone redirects heat back into the room, rather than letting it absorb into the wall. European builders have included foil backing behind radiators as standard practice for decades. It requires no installation. It requires no knowledge. It is the simplest implementation of everything Marcus understood about thermal reflection, and it costs less than a cup of coffee. The intermediate step is to build a basic tin can alcohol heater for emergency backup. You need a clean metal can of any size, a piece of cotton cloth cut into a strip, and a bottle of 91% or higher isopropyl alcohol. Not rubbing alcohol with additives, use pure isopropyl. Coil the cloth strip inside the can, pour in enough alcohol to saturate it, leave a 1/4 inch of wick above the rim and light it. Place an inverted terracotta pot on a wire rack above it. The pot must not seal completely against the surface, or it will starve the flame of oxygen. Leave a small gap. Test it outdoors first. Keep it away from anything flammable. This is not a permanent heating solution. This is what Marcus used to survive 4-degree nights. And this is what you use when every other system has failed you. The minimum application, the thing you can do in the next 10 minutes. Take a page of newspaper, crumple it loosely, and place it between 2 layers of clothing you are already wearing. Just try it. Feel the difference in 20 minutes. What you will feel is not the newspaper. What you will feel is your own body heat, contained for the first time, doing the work it was always capable of doing before the products you were sold started doing it for you, inefficiently, expensively, and with a monthly bill attached. Marcus was not a desperate man making do with broken tools. He was a thermal engineer who happened to be living outside, a man who had been stripped of everything the system uses to separate the knowledgeable from the so-called primitive, and who, in that stripping, found himself with only physics and ingenuity, and discovered that physics and ingenuity were enough. The knowledge was not lost. It was abandoned the moment it stopped being profitable. We are digging up the survival wisdom, the heating methods, the food preservation techniques, the water systems, the insulation principles that the modern convenience industry buried under 100 years of branded alternatives. If you want to keep uncovering what got left behind, subscribe. You will not regret it. And tell us in the comments, what is the one system in your life, heating, food, health, water, shelter, that you have always suspected was designed to keep you dependent rather than keep you whole? Because that is exactly where we are headed next.